Let's study the second example that the interrogative adverb why is applied in. The second example is this. Why do you like the sofa? The speaker applies the interrogative adverb why to describe the definition of the transitive verb like. The speaker specifies the definition of the transitive verb like with a reason for the listeners as the subject to actualize the condition indicated by the transitive verb like. This interrogative clause is stated in the third type of clause, constituted with the interrogative adverb why. That is not a constituent of the clause. The modal verb as an adverb do. The subject, you, the transitive verb like, and the object, the sofa. One of the possible responses is stated in this conference. We like the sofa because of the place where the sofa is. In this class, the speaker applies the combination of the prepositions because and of to form a phrase of the adverb. Because of the place where the sofa is. This phrase of the prepositions corresponds with the interrogative adverb why in the second example. The speaker specifies the definition of the transitive verb like with the phrase of the prepositions because of the place where the sofa is to include a clause with a reason for the subject to actualize the condition indicated by the transitive verb like. There is an included clause starting with the relative adverb where. The relative adverb where specifies the existence of the precedent, the place, and the reason that the subject, including the speaker, actualize the definition of the transitive verb like is specified by the phrase of the prepositions because of the place where the sofa is to include a clause. So the phrase of the prepositions because of the place where the sofa is corresponds to the interrogative adverb why in the interrogative clause. The reason why the combination of the adverb because and the preposition of is applied in this clause is that the adverb because is classified as a conjunctive adverb. And it can also function as a conjunction. So applying a conjunction in a clause means that you have to write about a clause, a completed clause. But the speaker of this clause intends to state the reason why the subject like the sofa with an indicative expression, the place. So the speaker applies the other preposition of additionally. The third example is this. The third example is applied as a statement for a suggestion. Why don't you like the sofa? The reason why this clause is interpreted as a sort of suggestions is that the speaker sets a special premise for this clause. The speaker who states this clause is quite assured about the fact that the subject actualizes the definition of the transitive verb like. So the speaker considers that there cannot be other cases that except the case that the subject, the listeners, like the sofa. So we can say that the speaker applies the adverb not as a way for emphasis of the speaker's intention in this clause. This premise of the speaker can be interpreted to the listeners in a way that the speaker suggests the actualization of the transitive verb. So that's the reason. The speaker specifies the definition of the transitive verb like with the modal verb do to emphasize the definition of the transitive verb like. The speaker specifies the definition of the modal verb do with the adverb not to convey the intention of the speaker who emphasizes the definition of the transitive verb like as doubtless, no doubt. The application of the adverb not reveals that the speaker sets the premise about the listeners as the subject to actualize the condition indicated by the transitive verb like. The listeners who do not actualize the definition of the transitive verb like are in the condition that is not accorded with the premise of the speaker. Thus, listeners are conveyed the interrogative clause to ask about the reason for the condition. The listeners who are conveyed the interrogative clause on the firm premise of the speaker to apply the adverb not have the shared purpose to harmonize with the speaker so that you can join to actualize the definition of the transitive verb like. So the listeners are conveyed the suggestive intention rather than the intention to ask about the reason for the condition with the interrogative with the interrogative clause from the speaker primarily. One of the responses is stated as the converse. I prefer an armchair to a sofa. The speaker reveals, we can say that the response of this clause clearly reveals the intent that the speaker likes an armchair more than a sofa. The speaker reveals the object on armchair of the transitive verb prefer that is close to the state of the speaker as the subject subject armchair of the preposition to. This means that the speaker considers that an armchair exists closer to the speaker rather than the sofa. So you can understand the application of the preposition to that is commonly used with the transitive verb prefer. The transitive verb prefer sets the initiative point of the condition indicated by the transitive verb prefer as the subject on armchair of the preposition to and the terminal point of the condition as the object a sofa of the preposition to. This means that the transitive verb prefer is good to describe, to explain the range of preference from the speaker. The definition of the transitive verb prefer is applied to convey the intention of the speaker to set a range of the object that occurs from the subject to the object of the preposition to. The first example is this. Why do you not like the sofa? We can see that the adverb not is applied ahead of the transitive verb like, not with the modal verb do. We can say that the adverb not directly specifies the definition of the transitive verb like and denies the condition of the subject described by the transitive verb like. We can say that the subjects are in a condition except the condition described by the transitive verb like, and the speaker intends to know about the condition except the condition described by the transitive verb like. Somewhere in the world, some condition in the world might be suitable for describing the condition of the subject, so we can understand the arrangement of this clause is legitimate. The speaker reveals that the condition of the listeners as the subject is any condition to exclude the condition indicated by the transitive verb like with the adverb not, to specify the definition of the transitive verb like without the emphasis by the modal verb do. The speaker specifies the definition of the transitive verb like with the adverb not to convey the interrogative intention about the reason for the subject to exist in a condition, to exclude the condition itself indicated by the transitive verb like rather than the condition of the listeners as the subject indicated by the transitive verb like. One of the responses is stated as the conference. I like the sofa, but I enjoy keeping the precious oath of Jesus Christ. The speaker said, from the previous context, the speaker might consider that keeping the oath of Jesus Christ is something that can be replaceable from being in a condition to like the sofa. The speaker reveals that the speaker is close to the condition indicated by the transitive verb like, but in the different condition with the coordinate clause linked by the coordinating conjunction but. In this sentence, because we see the two transitive verbs, we can say that this sentence is constituted with the two clauses, so we can find the two verbs as well, like and enjoy. And the two clauses are linked by the coordinating conjunction